Loons are in the order Gaviiformes and are closely related to seabirds and penguins. Up till the 1930s, loons were believed to be related to grebes, which are another type of diving bird. It was found that the two are not related at all, but a product of convergent evolution and adapted similarly to an ecological niche that is also very alike. The word loon comes from an Old English word loom for clumsy, and their generic name Gavia may be from a term that was used to classify gulls and seamews, or a Latin word gaudio for rejoicing, which probably refers to the loon's laughing call. And their species name emer comes from another Latin word immersio, which means to immerse or submerge themselves. Like, loons are in the order. When I started this project, I had no idea which bird I was going to do because I love so many things about all of them. And then I said to myself, Alessia, what other bird epitomizes the great Michigan outdoors more than the common loon? And that was it. I had to do it. I have a very special memory with common loons. A couple years ago on a summer trip up north to Oscoda, I was able to swim with a pair of adult loons in the Ossawa River. It was so pretty. Their calls are like nothing else. You've probably heard the common loon's calls. They're often used in like commercials and in TV when they're advertising anything that has to do with the great outdoors. The wail of the common loon is usually used. And a tidbit of information about the behavior of this loon in the picture here is if you notice its forehead, the feathers are a bit furrowed, so it gives them that like angular head look. They do this in response to like oncoming danger or something that is keeping them alert. So the photographer that took this picture was probably a bit too close. You'll probably hear a loon before you actually spot it if you are looking in places like quiet lakes and or shores of rivers where they like to hang out. You'll want to look for a large bird that is dipping below the surface and coming up. And when they're swimming, most of their body is more flush with the water rather than like a duck who mostly floats on top. Most of a loon's body is submerged with the water, so you'll most likely see just the neck sticking up and a pointy beak and those striking red eyes. Their breeding plumage that's pictured here is so pretty. And what's weird is that the way they're shaped, they're fit for the water, for swimming, but their legs are placed too far behind on their back, so that makes walking on land very difficult for them because they just topple over. So the way they walk on land is they kind of shuffle and use their breast to keep them up. So that's why they're kind of clumsy on land, but super quick in the water. Because common loons are so large, they cannot generate lift from just sitting on the water. They need space to run the surface of the water in order to gain the speed needed for liftoff. Depending on the wind, they need up to a quarter-mile runway to get them flying, which is why they need such large lakes to breed. Loons are found from western Canada and Alaska to Greenland, Europe, and Iceland. They migrate from northern lakes to ocean coasts. Common loons are a long-lived species. They can live to be about 20 to 30 years old. And something really cool I just learned was that the oldest ever recorded loon was a female in Michigan. She was found in 2016, and banding records show that she was banded last in 1989 in the same spot. In the springtime, when loons return from migration, they return back to the lake that they previously inhabited and find a mate there. Loons are monogamous, and mated pairs will usually last around 5 years. However, if one of the birds doesn't return or dies, the other mate will quickly find someone else to pair up with and breed. The loon's aggressive displays are often mistaken for courting rituals, but their courting rituals are more subtle. They include some asynchronous diving between the two birds and swimming around each other. Common loon nests need to be constructed right at the shoreline of very deep water so that the birds can slip into the water easily and so that they don't really have to walk on land much. In the months of May or June, males and females will begin to construct a nest. They'll use dead plant materials that's found on lake shores, like sedges and marsh grasses, and they will pile them up into a wet clump, and the birds will then sit in it and mold the nest shape to the contours of their body. Eggs are incubated for about 30 days and are brown in color with darker splotches. Loon nests need to be constructed Common loons are not sexually dimorphic, which means that both males and females look the same, but males tend to be a little bit larger. Loons are incredibly agile and swift birds, and what we're looking at here is a dead bald eagle that was found in Bridgeton, Maine in July of 2019. A dead loon chick was also found in the same area, but what was surprising to find was that during the eagle's necropsy, it wasn't a gunshot that killed it, but a puncture wound. The size of the wound showed it was likely a stab from an adult loon who was trying to protect its babies. These birds will actually attack other loons by diving below them and then coming straight up with their beak to spear the opponent's vital areas. Many adult loons have been found with healed-over sternum punctures from this same thing. Loons are Common loons will forage for food by diving underwater and probing the ground with their beak, and when prey spotted, they will pursue it and chase it underwater. They propel themselves with their big webbed feet, and they steer with their tail. They also have these really cool rear-facing like spokes in their mouth, so that keeps hold on like slippery and thrashing fish. Loons have great eyesight underwater, and that red color helps with that. They also have solid bones, which allow them to dive to depths of about 250 feet. They could stay submerged for about 5 minutes at a time, and they have found a way to concentrate oxygen in their leg muscles to assist in their deep and long dives for food. Because they rely on actually looking for food underwater, it's important for them to have unpolluted and clear lakes to forage about in. Yellow-billed loons are larger and generally less vocal than common loons. They're found in Alaska, British Columbia, and more northern Arctic places. Pacific loons are found in larger open water, usually in oceans, much farther from shore than its closely related species. Red-throated loons are the smallest and breed farther north than any other loons. They're often found in shallower water. Western grebes are also diving birds, but have way more complex courtship displays than loons and very different mechanical-sounding vocalizations. In 2013, the Ricketts Conservation Foundation awarded a honking $6.5 million grant to the Biodiversity Research Institute in Maine to fund research projects aimed at reviving loon populations. This was enough to restore great numbers of loons and conduct new research. Bird Studies Canada found in a 32-year study of loons of how acid rain and rising mercury levels have had severe impacts on loon reproduction. Industrial emissions of nitrogen oxides and sulfur dioxide majorly reduce fish populations because of the lowering pH levels. Coal-fired power plants release airborne mercury, which settles in lake bottom sediments. Lake bacteria then transform the structure of this and make methylmercury, which is an organic neurotoxin that bioaccumulates in loons. Lead poisoning is the largest known cause of adult loon mortality. In New Hampshire especially, laws on lead fishing sinkers and lead jigs have been put in place. Sinkers are attached to fishing lines to sink them, and jigs are hooks with lead molding around them. In 2006, New Hampshire established its first ban on the use and sale of lead fishing tackle in the state. In 2013, legislation was passed that restricts the sale of fishing tackle weighing 1 ounce or less. You would think that the trauma from ingestion of the hooks and tackling is what kills loons, but it is actually lead poisoning that does most of the damage. Loons are equipped for swallowing spiny fish, so fish hooks are easily ingested. Lead tackling settles on lake bottoms and resembles small pebbles, like I have this picture here. And loons will sometimes take up a bit of sediment along with their food and unknowingly swallow lead. It breaks down in their gizzard and enters the bloodstream that way. Unfortunately, loons will not display any symptoms until lead has already reached toxic levels in them. It only takes about 2 to 4 weeks for lead poisoning to kill a loon. Lead poisoning. This is going to be a reading from the book Animals Speak, The Spiritual Magical Powers of Creatures Great and Small, written by Ted Andrews. And I'm going to go into the legends behind loons. Anytime a loon shows up as a totem, it is calling you to pay attention to your dreams. It indicates that they will be of greater importance, along with becoming more vibrant and colorful. The haunting call of the loon may also be telling you that all of those hopes, wishes, and dreams that you have tucked into the back of your heart are about to come to the surface. The loon may be signaling you not to compromise them again, or you may truly find yourself haunted. The loon will teach new states of consciousness. It will also help you to deepen those you have already awakened. Because it lives close to the water at the shoreline, it can teach you to use these various states of consciousness to open new dimensions and other life forms, such as those found within the fairy realm of life. The call of the loon can be an invitation to enter the fairy realm. It is likened to the distant call of the sirens. On land, the loon cannot walk or waddle very well, and an individual with a loon totem often finds that he or she is only truly comfortable in one or maybe two environments. Such people are not often comfortable in the traditional behaviors and social mores of the times. They also have a hard time landing, and so the loon that comes to you as a totem may be coming because it may help you to learn how to become more comfortable in different environments. This is going to be a reading from the book Animals. Thank you for making it to the end of my presentation. I hope you enjoyed getting to know this super impressive specimen of a bird. Kind of spooky, kind of gory. They really have it all. Thank you.